Welcome everyone to the Nuzlocke Hall of Fame. In 2025, I completed 10 different Nuzlocke style challenges, and I got to use a bunch of different Pokemon. Each time I used a particular Pokemon in a Nuzlocke, I gave it the same nickname, so whenever I would find it in a different game, it would feel like the same Pokemon. There were some clear standouts throughout this year, so I'm going to commemorate the top 10 now with the 2025 Nuzlocke Hall of Fame. First up, at number 10, we have Bella the Roserade. I had Bella as an encounter in 4 different Pokemon games, but where she impressed me the most was during my Brilliant Diamond Nuzlocke. She made her battle debut by destroying Crasher Wake's Quagsire, but she was also a reliable counter to my rival and Bertha. Even though I ended up losing to Cynthia, Bella was by far the standout of the battle, as she claimed all 4 of the KOs I got in this battle. She also spent some time on my Elite Four team of the Batman Nuzlocke, helping out against threats like the Penguin, Joker, and Harley Quinn. At number 9, we have Chuck the Chestnut. I only used him once this year, which is why he's so low on this list, but he was my starter for my X Nuzlocke and made it all the way to the champion. He was an important teammate throughout the game, especially against Viola, Clement, Lysander, Cybold, and my rivals. In the number 8 spot, we have another X teammate, Harold the Hippowdon. Harold was an incredibly reliable Pokemon throughout the whole game, as his great bulk and useful ground typing supported this team many times. I used him against gym leaders Grant and Clement, but where he stole the show was against Wickstrom, who Harold completely swept entirely on his own. Now at number 7, we have Skippy the Go-Goat in my Violet Nuzlocke. Skippy was useful from the beginning, as his high HP stat allowed him to take hits that he could heal back up from with Synthesis or Leech Seed. In the late game, his typing made him very useful against Rika's ground team, and his Zap Zipper ability made him a perfect counter to Nemona's frightening Meowscarada, as he completely neutralized the threat of its Terra-boosted, crit-guaranteed Flower Tricks. Our number 6 Hall of Famer is Evan the Jolteon, another champion from my Violet Nuzlocke. He was crucial in my battle against Iono, as he was completely immune to Miss Magius's electric moves with Volt Absorb, and immune to its ghost moves with its Terra Normal type. That Terra Normal type came in handy again versus Ghost type user Rhyme. Besides that, I used his tremendous speed in battles against Kofu, Larry, and even Gita. We're now on to the top 5, and up next we have Graham the Arcanine. Graham is the last of the Pokemon on this list to only be on one championship team, as he was again on the Violet squad. I was able to evolve him into Arcanine before the second gym, and there were so many battles that he just destroyed with his fire moves. He swept Brassius, Earthworm, 3 of Poppy's Pokemon, and even 3 of Gita's Pokemon, and he played a crucial part in many other battles along the way. At number 4, we have Squire the Blastoise. Squire first joined the team in my X Nuzlocke as my chosen Kanto starter, and using Mega Blastoise was crucial in so many fights in this game. He was really tough defensively, but actually had good offensive coverage as well, with Bite and Ice Beam. I used him many times along the journey, especially against late game threats like Olympia, Professor Sycamore, Malva, and Cybold, and in the final battle against Diantha, he took out Gourgeist and did tremendous damage to Gardevoir. I used him again in my Pokepark Nuzlocke, encountering him in the Granite Zone, where he was again helpful at the end of the game in battles against Salamence and Muse teams. Next up at 3, it's Gimli the Garchomp. I first used Gimli in my Nuzlocke of Pokepark, encountering him in the Cavern Zone and using him throughout the run, including in the final battle against Mew. He was an encounter of mine again in Violet, where he joined a champion team for the second time, helping out against Elite Four members Rika and Poppy, though where he stole the show was against Hassel, as he outsped and O-code 3 of his Pokemon, and he even got the final hit against Gita's Glimora. Although it took a long time for Gimli to reach his full potential in Violet, having a ground dragon pseudo-legendary holding the Dragon Fang was definitely worth it. At number 2, we have a 2-time champion whose victories were both in standard mainline Pokemon games, Maxwell the Magnezone. Maxwell was the latest addition to my final team in Pokemon X, but his phenomenal defensive typing, good defense, and great special attack made him a very useful team member. He was immediately useful against Olympia, Lysander, Shauna, and Tierno, as his typing provided the exact coverage my team needed. Although he took more of a back seat throughout the Elite Four, he came in against Diantha to KO Aurorus and even get the final knockout on Gardevoir. In Violet, Maxwell was actually my second electric type, but his steel type added a lot to the team. His poison immunity was great against Atticus, and his resistance to flying was great against Larry, but later on his steel type really shone. He got nearly every KO against Grisha, nearly every KO against Ortega, and throughout the league, his incredible typing made him a great pivot to get other team members in safely, especially when he would bait ground attacks that allowed Go-Go to come in on a resisted hit. Now for our final addition to the Hall of Fame. This should come as no surprise if you followed along with the channel this far. It's Marty the Azumarill. My fondness for Marty started in my first ever Nuzlocke, White 2, where I trained him up to battle Drayden, only for him to sadly fall to a gym trainer along the way. But then in my second Nuzlocke, Pokemon X, Marty was the first encounter that I got to reunite with in a new Pokemon game with X. This time though, Marty had a new power-up with the Fairy typing that, in combination with huge power, helped him to stand out throughout the entire run. But in the Pokemon League, he did great work against Malva and Cybold, and swept 3 of Drasna's Pokemon himself. After the White 2 tragedy, it felt like I had proven Marty's worth by bringing him all the way to the end of the game, and that was a great story, but it wasn't over yet. Next, Marty would be useful in a very different way, as I headed to my Stocks Nuzlocke, a Pokemon Nuzlocke where I pretended to invest in the stock market, and I would use my earnings, or more often losses, to buy Pokemon based on their base stat total. My team was a disaster heading into the league, and I was really low on budget, and I needed one more Pokemon to essentially use as a sacrifice, but ideally one that also had some immunities to use as a pivot. And so, Marty joined my final team as an Azurill. And though I sadly had to use Marty as a sacrifice before I got the chance to exploit his dragon immunity against Drake, it was really fun to use Marty on the team yet again in a very different way. Then guess what? Marty came back in my Brilliant Diamond Nuzlocke in the Great Marsh. He didn't have huge power this time, so he wasn't very helpful, but he did make an appearance against Crasher Wake. Then I used Marty yet again in my Violet Nuzlocke, where he was my second ever encounter, and he ended up being on my main team throughout the entire game, earning himself another championship. In this game, Marty saved the day too many times to count. Just watch that video if you want to see some great Marty moments throughout. And finally, I finished out the year by doing a Nuzlocke where my encounters were randomly chosen from my previous encounters throughout last year. So of course, Marty made a return, helping out against Dragon-type Pokemon, and again for the third time, being on a winning championship team. I will continue doing Nuzlockes in 2026 on the MRDucksGaming channel, and I hope to use some of these phenomenal team members again, giving them new chances to show their strength. However, I'm also really excited to use brand new teammates that I've never had the chance to play with before. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider subscribing and checking out my Nuzlocke content, and I'm looking forward to a great year in 2026 on this channel.